Mount Washington is located on Lake Winnipesaukee. Its home port is out of Weirs Beach, New Hampshire. Lake Winnipesaukee is New Hampshire's largest lake. 72 square miles. It's 21.5 miles long and 15 miles wide. It has 183 miles of mainland shoreline. It is dotted with 274 habitable islands. Now, having said that, that's a pretty good size body of water at 72 square miles, so therefore to have a ship the size of the Mount Washington, which is 230 feet long, is not unusual. And as a matter of fact, in the early days of steamboating on this lake, they had a number of large vessels well over 100 feet to 125 to 130 feet long. The mount in itself is the only one of its size nowadays, and certainly unique in that aspect. She has been on Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire since 1940. However, there's always been a Mount Washington since 1872, as there was a predecessor. The original Mount Washington was a sidewheeler, and that operated on the lake from 1872 to 1939, where she burned at the dock here at Weirs Beach. That was a sidewheeler. It was 125 feet long. She was built on the lake, entirely of wood. The present-day Mount Washington was actually a boat that operated up on Lake Champlain in Vermont, between Vermont and Plattsburgh, New York. And that vessel used to be known as the Chateauguay. It was an iron hull. When the first Mount Washington burned in 1939, they wanted to replace the boat, and so they found the Chateauguay not being used, so they bought the vessel and cut the hull into 20 sections, shipped it over on flat rail car to Lakeport, New Hampshire. She was there reassembled, and then they put a new superstructure on her. Then World War II broke out, and she was laid up until the end of hostilities. She was then re-outfitted in 1946 with the engines we have in her today, and those are diesel Enterprise engines, 615 horsepower each. There are two of them, so she is a twin-screw vessel. Now, ironically, the Chateauguay was a sidewheeler. So this boat, at 230 feet long, twin screws, was not originally constructed to be a twin-screw vessel, but she operates very nicely as one. Very important to have twin screws on the mount for maneuverability reasons. We don't have currents, we don't have tides in the lake, we have wind. And so if you take a look at the mount, the fact that she has an awful lot of sail towards the stern of her because it's all enclosed, the wind can actually blow you around pretty good as you're coasting into a dock. Somebody will say, well, why do you coast into a dock? Our engines are direct drive inline diesel engines. And what I mean by that is the fact that when we stop the vessel, we literally stop the engines, and we have to restart the engines in reverse. They have direct reversing cams. So when we're coasting, our engines are not on. And so we can't go from forward to reverse like you would normally with a clutch system and not have to worry about doing damage. We have to reverse the cams first, and that takes a few seconds. When you're coasting, obviously the wind takes control of your vessel a little bit. So twin screws do help us in the fact that we're able to maneuver a little better. You're on a lake, you're not on the ocean. This boat is truly a laker. It is long and it is narrow. It only has a 35-foot beam for its 230-foot length, and it glides through the water. It also weighs close to 800 tons. So you can't find a more solid base to be standing on while traveling on the lake. It is very stable, and I'm going to say that 95% of the time you're on the boat, you aren't going to feel anything except the vibration of the engines. The trip itself is 2.5 hours for the day trips. We take in another port, depending upon which day you were to go. Today we are going to go to Wolfeboro, which is in the southeastern part of the lake. Wolfeboro is known to be the oldest summer resort in America. It was in 1764 that the colonial governor, John Wentworth, first established a summer home there, established the colonial road from Portsmouth to Wolfeboro, and therefore making it the first summer resort in America. When we go to another port, we stop only long enough to take on and dispatch passengers. So we're not there for very long. However, if a person were to get on in the morning at Weirs Beach, they could stop at that other port and spend 2.5 hours, because we're going to pick people up there, and then we're going to come back and drop those people off. So there's a chance for them to spend 2.5 hours in that other port. And a lot of people do that, especially in the Wolfboro area, because there's a lot of great areas to shop. I grew up with this company, you know, starting out as a deckhand in college. I've got 27 years into the company. I love the area. I love my job. I think I'm the luckiest man in the world. I truly do. The things you do every day may be the same in a lot of ways, but there are so many different things that you do every day. The scenery is different every day. I got to tell you, I can't think of a better place to be. Our season runs from basically Mother's Day until Halloween. So there's a lot of availability. I don't think there's any peak time that you have to worry about getting tickets. There's no better way to see Lake Winnipesaukee than to take a trip on the Mount Washington. We've been around a long time, and we welcome our passengers with a great big smile. And I always tell the person that I hope in their 2 or 2.5 hours on the lake, they'll understand just why the Indians named this lake Winnipesaukee. Smile of the Great Spirit.